That was it. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm starting to record this, just so you know. So anything you say can and will be laughed at. I doubt if there's anything too incriminating in here, but we never know. So anyway, as people are coming in, um, there she is. All right, cool. She made it, and she's even got visuals. Hopefully.
Hi, friends.
All right, good. And she's got audio too. That's excellent.
Yay. Oh, I
Yeah.
love your hat, Mad Hatter.
Thank you. Yes, that's true too. A Hatter and mad. Certainly mad.
You missed the hat show.
Hello
Pardon
there,
me?
Nan.
I said you missed the hat show.
Oh, do we get, is that what we get when we're all here? Will you give us the hat show?
That might be a little revealing. I don't know. But in any case,
Isn't one of your objectives, I was just rereading this, is about intimacy.
Yes, intimacy, humor, and no necessity for too much seriousness here. That's for sure. There's my cousin Sherry. Hi, cousin Sherry.
Hi, Terry. Hey, everybody.
Hi, Terry Binning. Hi,
Terry. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Wonderful. And Nan, nice to see you. Joe, Karen, I don't know you. I don't think. Some of the people in here I don't know.
She's materialized right out of your imagination, Terry.
Kathy,
do I see a shoulder of another person? Hi, Terry. Do I see a shoulder there of another person?
Yes, I have my friend scoot over. We'll have to scoot over a little bit so he can get in here too.
Oh, well, cool. Howdy.
There I am.
There you are.
Howdy, person. How are you?
Hi, Steve.
Who are you?
I'm sitting in on this one session just to check it out.
Who are you?
This is Bobby.
Hi, Bobby. That's what I was looking for, man, is your name, so I could say hi, so I could call you.
He's a 6th level old priest.
Oh my God! Don't we feel?
And is my essence mate.
Your essence mate. Well, Bobby, good to have you.
Yeah.
In a little bit, we're going to we'll go around and actually do introductions as more people get here, so we don't have to double up on ourselves and stuff. But anyway, all right. Here is Abby, and we have got Jean, our handy dandy TA, working on letting people in. So let's see. We got 16 boxes, 17. There she's in her car, no less.
Hey, Abby.
Oh my goodness, girl.
Hi guys. Hi everyone.
Hey, Abigail. Hi. Abby, and there's Peter Winchell. All right. So we got our next gen person here. We got a last. Oh, and I love Peter. I love the background. We got another one of our next gen persons here. I'm trying to think, Peter, who with your glasses and your hair pulled back like that you remind me of.
Bono.
What's that?
Bono.
Bono. Oh, Peter. Man, how do you like that, dude?
Same to you.
Yeah.
Bono, you back.
Colorful.
Hi there.
So one of the things we're going to do a little later, I will tell you guys in general before we, do any, just kind of, you're all kind of getting a chance to meet, hear each other and meet each other, and you're reading names and all that kind of stuff. Is I'm going to send you all into breakout rooms, and I'm going to have you choose some cards, in a very little bit, and then this way you guys get some brief intros, and have some short rounds of hi, how are yous, and we'll make it even a little exercise. Well, I'll have you pull a card either from your physical deck, or if you've got it, and then you can always hold it up to the camera, or I'll have you. I'm going to introduce you guys to the websites where you can choose the cards online and tell folks what you got, and if you had any impression about it and so forth. And there's Mary Lee Bahar. Hi, Mary Lee. Good to see you. Paige isn't here yet, but that's just cool. You're here, and I think there's a husband in there too somewhere behind.
I'm sorry. I need to jump in.
Kids.
Steve, if I'm Bono, you're apparently the cat in the hat, and he was a shady figure, so I'm a little nervous.
Figure.
You're up to something.
He's a
Yeah, he's up to something.
I am. See, I have lifted the shadow off my eyes, so
Steve
you will
is
now be
always up to
enlightened.
something. That's what makes him so fun.
You know, I have a motto for those of you who've never taken a course with me. You know, if I can't educate you, if I can't enlighten you, at least I hope I entertain you. Okay.
You'll be good at
If
that.
nothing else, you got to get something out of this course. And if it's nothing but my ridiculous sense of humor, then by God, you'll at least get that. So, and then maybe somehow in the process, you'll pick up something of interest. In the meantime, while people are, still dropping in and stuff, all right, well, good. We're not even quite at 5 o'clock yet, but we're getting there. So I want to tell you, for those of you who are here already, I really appreciate your timeliness. I'll tell you, one of the things I personally appreciate is when folks are punctual and on time. Makes things go a lot easier. Granted, life doesn't always allow it, but for the fact that you guys all made an effort to be here, again, my greatest thanks. As far as me and time, let me just say that I do my level best to make sure that the way I deliver this course is at least half the time you guys are going to be in breakout rooms, or we're going to be doing joint exercises and not me just yakking away at you. Okay. So with that in mind, we should have a few lively discussions. One of the other things I just want to let you know that I might as well just kind of filter it through, and as people come in, they'll hear it. And I appreciate many of you have already muted yourself. But when I really actually get started and in any kind of a, overview and the lecture and so forth, I appreciate it if you would mute yourself. And Jean Sauvage up there is my technical Zoom assistant and my co-host. So she will have the power of the push button. Yeah. If it is too much noise, she will mute you, okay? She will mute you up, as it were, or down, as it were. Anyway. So anyhow, that's a little bit how I run this course in an effort to try and make sure everyone gets heard and that we all have a little fun. All right, so we have 19 participants, it looks like, showing up on my screen. And as I said, I was told by 6 of them that they wouldn't be making it, of the 29 that were enrolled for tonight. So I'm going to wait just a little bit longer before I jump into things directly and give you my warm up and my overview, and that's a good thing. By the way, I've had several comments. I want to point out my wizard hat. You can call me Mr. Wizard or Hey You, whatever seems appropriate. But since I am running a divinations course, I figured I might as well do something that looks equally as new agey, mystical, and so forth. So there it is. Abby's got her more modern version of safari mysticism, and oh, there she's got several hats to try on. So all right, she'll be changing her look throughout the entire course. This will be good. All right, excellent.
So is it a sorting hat?
It might be a sorting hat, but I haven't put anything in here yet. So and he has.
Oh no, the hat will do it itself.
The hat will do it
when
itself.
we get the breakout groups, it's going to be doing the sorting. The hat will do it.
There we go. See, now there we have a prediction divined by one of our participants already. We haven't even started yet. I am so impressed by this group already. I'm telling you. All right. Well, I see Tim Watts has joined us. So, okay. Well, we're a little bit over, so I'm going to go ahead and I am going to start this. Dun, da, da, da. So welcome, everyone. And I want to say a couple of things. Everyone, thank you for attending this course. This is my 10-year anniversary with these cards. Yeah, 10 years ago in 2013, I first introduced this deck to the East Coast Michael Gathering back in Virginia. So this current deck is in its third printing. And anyway, so thank you for those of you who've come along for the ride. I want to acknowledge also Terry Benning, who hosted one of these workshops, as well as Peter Winchell, who hosted one of these workshops. And I invited them back as my guests because they were so absolutely essential to helping me gain an audience with them, and also very insightful and enthusiastic about using them. So I said, heck, that's like, that's like adding sugar and spice into the hot chocolate. So there we go. And I'll let you decide who's the sugar and who's the spice. Since somebody claims that Peter looks like Bono, I guess, we might think him as spice. But any case, all right. So 10-year anniversary. So tonight, what I'm going to do in just a second is I will bring up some cards, and then I'm going to start marching us through the not just the layout of the course, but all the tools and so forth. First thing I want to do is I want to make a couple of introductions. As I said, I was lucky enough to have a couple of folks join me in offering to be teachers' assistants. And so I want to acknowledge that I asked Catherine Schwenger and Timothy Watts, and also Jillian Elliott, who is not here tonight, to be my surrogate Michael aficionados. And what I mean by that is, for those folks, if you have some question about the Michael teaching that you're not so sure about, if you go down to the chat section, you could always pull up one of them. And then, of course, we have a fellow Michael channel here as well. And I don't want to volunteer her without her blessing, but two of them, in fact. We have Terry Benning and Don Barker. So any of these folks who, if you have a specific nitty-gritty about the Michael teaching that you might have a quick, curiosity about, you can go to one of them if you just want a quickie. Otherwise, if it's essential to the course, or you feel like it might actually add to the whole discussion, please feel free to use your reactions button down below and raise your hand, as I am doing right now. And you notice, oh, I just upgraded. Look at that. They've animated the hand now. What do you know? All right. Because when I see those hands, being waved, by the way, you don't have to use just the waving hand there in the reactions button. You can also wave your own hand or raise your own hand. And if I see you, or continuing in my teacher's assistants, Jean, who is my Zoom co-host and who is handling a lot of the technical issues. So she's letting people in for me as I'm doing the presenting and so forth. Excuse me. Now, I don't know how you folks like to run your own Zoom meetings, but for my purposes, since I need the full screen when I start showing you my slides and I start taking you out to the websites, I'm going to be pinning myself to my screen. So all of you will be in smaller, on the smaller docket along the side of my screen. So I may not always see you. So again, I'm going to be relying on Jean for her relaying input of you to me and stuff. So just know I appreciate any help that you can give me and her to make it so that we can include you and address whatever question you have. So before we go on, let me just ask, before I launch into everything on a grand scale here, does anyone have an introductory question or interest about the course that they feel like they really would benefit everyone to hear, or have my all the copious amounts of handouts I sent out to you, answered everything, such that you probably won't even stay for the whole night. Okay, well, there's Renee. All right. All right. Well, I don't see any hands, so I will assume that I have been so excellent in prepping you all that I'm going to go ahead and start. By the way, Renee is one of my clients who's also a card enthusiast, and so I want to welcome her since she just popped in, and there she is. And so, hi, Renee.
Hi.
I'm gonna start the lecture, so if you would mute yourself, but good. I'll let everybody see you there. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to go ahead, folks, and I'm going to share the screen. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to start on the PowerPoint. And we're going to talk about all the goodies we've got. All right. Oh, let me get back here. Come on now. Oops. Come on. One more. There we go. Yay. Let's see if I can get rid of this. There. Now, can everyone see the top of the screen unencumbered? In other words, there's no dark shadow about the top. Is there for anyone? If not, if I don't hear anything, I'm going to assume not. Okay, good, because I turned off my control bar because I don't need it while I'm doing this. So welcome, everyone. Again, this is the Michael Motivation Cards course. It's 6 weeks. It runs from tonight through June 29th. And the main thing that I'd like to say, thank you, Phil, about this course is I want you all to know I'm emphasizing this course as a focus on the Michael cards as a divination tool, though it's built on the Michael teachings. So for you folks who are not really familiar with the Michael teachings in an in-depth way, I want you to understand you're going to get a lot of exposure to them. We'll be talking about the terms in individual contexts as we do readings and so forth. But mostly what I'm going to be doing is focusing on this as a divination tool. I've already introduced our TAs, and now I want to move on to what the tools are. So the resources for this course that I want to give you access to, that we're going to be reviewing here in the next 10 minutes, are, of course, the actual physical deck, which I'm holding up here, and the pocket guide, which comes with your physical deck. And what your pocket guide is, they are brief descriptors of the 78 cards that are part of this deck. All right, and they're represented on that one red background screen. Down below, we're going to be using this the colored overleaf chart as well, and I'll be bringing it up in a few minutes, and I'll be explaining how it sets off or defines visually the cards and how the entire deck relates to each other. Another piece that we're going to use that I will be sending out in the next week or two, but I will be showing you tonight, is the complimentary ebook that goes with the Michael Divination cards, which is Motivations Feedback System. And I have it on my screen behind this slide, and I will literally take you through it. Many of you should be getting a copy of it from me after I make my next set of edits. And what I would like you to know is it is a very comprehensive edition. It is a vast expansion of the Motivation Cards Pocket Guide, and it gives you a lot more detailed information specifically about including the Michael teachings and some of the other characteristics. Now, for tonight and for the rest of the course, especially for those of you who do not have an actual deck of physical cards, I want to introduce you to my working websites. And first one I'm going to take you to is michaelcards.com. So here we are at michaelcards.com. And I'm going to show you a little bit about using this this website.
Steve,
Yes.
I'm not seeing it. Is anyone else seeing the new website?
Oh, so it's not coming up. All right, hold on just a
Yeah.
second. Let me get in there and
The
see.
first slide is still up there.
All right, let me go through and oops, come here. All right, let me go through and I will bring up the control bar. I will stop the share and then I will start the share screen again on the website. Now does everyone see it? Does everyone see the website?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So for those of you, again, who don't have an actual physical deck, some of you know about this site, the Michael Motivation Cards site, Michael Card site. And I will also show you its sister site, my Michael Teachings site. But in this case, I want to show you a few features that can actually help walk you through this course. The first one is over here under Michael Cards Info. If you wanted to see all the cards available to you, you simply click on the first link, which is Cards by Name. And there, displayed, is literally an entire list of the 78 cards in this deck. And you notice that the far left column is the number, then it is the name of the card. The Dow card is number 0, Server card is number 1, Artisan number 2, Warrior number 3, etc. Then it has the positive poles and the negative poles. If you want to go to any one card, let's start off with the Dow card, the beginning. You just click on the link, and it literally takes you to the full description. Now, once you're there on the full description, folks, what it will show you is, of course, on the left, it literally shows you a mock-up of the card. In the center, it gives you the card, kind of the motto or the slogan that I chose for it. And in this case, for the Dow, it's more than the sum of its parts. And as we cruise down on the page, again, for those of you looking for, much more in-depth information than just what your pocket guide offers, you see here a description of what the card can mean, the positive pole, and then a great many more interpretations listed on the screen there than are in the pocket guide. These do coincide with Michael, the Motivations feedback ebook, by the way. So for those of you who wanted to see that, much more in-depth information, you can. Now, another thing just to let you know, a handy dandy feature. For those of you who are going to use these as a flashcard and who are using this to bone up on your knowledge or information of the cards or the Michael Teaching keywords and terms, you see this positive and negative sign here. If you were to click on that negative sign, that minus sign, what should have happened, and it's not. I wonder if it doesn't like coming through Zoom. Well, yeah, and apparently, okay, that feature is not working. All right, so let me just tell you what, if you were to go to the website, and for those of you who are there now, there are some times that Zoom features cancel out the function of some of the things on the website itself. And so apparently, I didn't discover it until just now. But if you were to hit the positive and negative button, what it would do is it would flip the card to that orientation. And then you could scroll through all of the specific and or individual responses that go with that card. So in this way, if you wanted to do a little bit more in-depth research, you could come to one of the websites, pull up a card that way, etc. Now, if you look up here above this header, you'll also notice that right over to the right side, it says server. So if we were just simply to click on that, you will notice that throughout the deck, you can advance through the deck because the next card is literally on the right-hand side, and then the one previous to it is up here on the left. So again, if you were just walking yourself through the cards and wanting to see them, you know, and Toto, you could do that. All right. Next couple of features.
So Steve, just to let you know, on the Dow card, I couldn't flip it either when I went through your site, but I can flip server. So I'm wondering if there's something funny going on with the Dow card. Just FYI.
That could be. It might be telling us that Dow is saying that, you know, there is no negative me. I'm just all that is. And if not, I'm going to get a hold of my programmer and see if we can fix it. Wait a minute. Where is the Dow V programmer? Oh, well. The next feature I want to talk about for, you know, using the online deck has to do with this right here. This is where you can type your question, and then this drop-down menu is where you can get one of the approximately 24 spreads that are offered that I have pre-made for different purposes. And as you see in the drop-down menu, it gives you a little bit of a descriptor as to what they are. In the future courses, I'm going to be going through the spreads in much more detail, each one, what they represent. We'll be doing them here in class, and we'll be doing joint readings and group interpretation of them. So we'll be doing a lot of these as we go on. But for now, just so you understand that it's there. Now, I also have a widget built into these two websites that appears right up here in the upper part of the right column. And you'll notice that once again, the drop-down menu is the same number of spreads. And then there is also this ask feature. For some reason, that ask word was supposed to go away, but it doesn't. It just stays there. So you'll have to erase it if you use that feature. All right. And in any case, I just wanted to give you knowledge of the site. For those of you, again, who don't own a physical deck of cards, you can use this site for yourself to draw a card. And then when it comes to doing group shares, you can report to your group when you're there what card that you got. And what that can do is that can allow the other people in your 2, 3, 4 person group to go ahead and maybe find it in their deck so they can be seeing it. And then you guys can discuss what its meanings are, what its interpretations are, etc. All right? Okay. So I'm going to, once again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to change our share screen here. And I am going to ask you for just a moment, does anyone have any questions about the Michael Cards site, the online widget, and or using those cards? If you do, it's okay to just chime in at this point because, again, I can't see hands as easily. I'll give you all about 10 or 15 seconds in case the shyness factor is there. All right. Well, good. I must be just blazing you with my brilliance so that you already understand what I'm getting at. Okay. Well, I'm going back to my share screen here, and we're going to continue with a few of the items. Okay. So I already mentioned the fact that that there is the other site that is mine, the michaelteaching.com, and it has the same feature. I'm not going to take you there so I don't have to switch screens. You've seen the card app on the Michael Card site. Okay, so let's click on to what's next. All right, the next tool in your arsenal of how to deal with the cards. Many of you realize that you got a 3-fold brochure with your cards in the deck. And if you open that 3-fold brochure, what you see is this colored chart. And it's literally the same colored chart that I have on this slide. Now, let me explain a little bit of this to you, and let you know that this represents a depiction of the symbolism, the numbers, and the associations of all 78 cards in this deck. And if you notice, up in the upper left-hand corner, the 0 card, the Tao card, is the opening card to the Michael Motivations deck. And all the way down across the page in the lower right-hand corner is 77, the Nexus card, which is the closing bookend for the Michael Motivations card deck. Now, together, they represent the entire spectrum within the Michael teaching of what represents eternal presence, the Tao, constancy of creation of all that is, and Nexus, which is a term in the Michael teaching we use for constant fluctuation and change. So the two things, seemingly paradoxical, make up the nature of the Tao. All right. What you're seeing in here for the first time, and don't you worry, we'll be coming back to this often, is the way that I represent what I call the sets and the groups of this deck. Now, sets I define as those cards that have similar colors. So if you look again on the screen, you'll notice that the first column, the very top word underneath the word Tao is the word roll. And the very first roll next to it is artisan, and then comes sage, then comes warrior, then comes king, then comes server, then comes priest. And then from there, scholar. Now, those are the 7 major archetypes, or the major arcana, if you will, if I borrow a term from traditional tarot, for the Michael Motivation cards. Those 7 roles. And if you look down, then, directly underneath them, each of those 7 roles have a role set that goes along with them. And it comprises 1 goal, 1 attitude, 1 chief feature, 1 mode, 1 center, and 1 body type. And if you're wondering where I'm getting those particular labels from, I'm getting them from the far left column. And I see that Dan has a question. Go ahead, Dan.
Your order of the axes, expression, action, inspiration, seems a little unique to me. I don't think anybody else puts the axes in that order. So
That's
I
true.
wondered if you had an argument for it.
I don't have an argument for it, but I do have a reason for it. And I will tell you right now, the introductory brief short version of that reason is some of you know that I have adopted or kind of altered the traditional, or what I call original or orthodox Michael teachings. Often I denote them as OMT, by the way, when you read. And I have put the Michael teaching in what I call the applied Michael approach, or AMA. And under the applied Michael approach, the expression axis, or artisan and sage, are the first introductory energies that I use for reasons that I will explain as I go along later. But I will tell you that for those of you who are Michael aficionados, that you know that the overleaves have been through several organizational reorientations. And now many persons in this teaching tend to put the inspiration axis over to the far left then expression, then action, and then assimilation. Without saying much more than that, Nan, I'm saying that's what I do, and the reasons I do it I will explain more as we go along in the course, but not tonight. There's too much kind of like broad-based stuff. But thank you for the question. So, what I want you to understand about each of the role sets, so the artisan set, the sage set, warrior set, etc., is that as you pull cards, folks, through the course of using the deck, and as you get more learning it, one of the ways that you're going to be able to sense some of the nuances or the subtleties of flavoring of a person's reading in their layouts is when you see any of these cards show up and then you say, oh, look, let's say, for example, somebody pulls perseverance mode. Now, I don't have, unfortunately, a colored pointer, but here is mode, the 5th row down. And if we go 3 columns over, here's perseverance. Can you guys see my mouse circling the word perseverance? Okay, good. Thank you for a couple of nods. So what it's indicating is, let's say if you see perseverance in a reading, you say, oh, there is the warrior action mode of doing things. And so one of the things that you can say then is that whenever you see an overleaf of a certain color, whatever it is, in part giving you some of the subtle flavor of the main role itself. Now, for those of you who know the Michael teaching, you'll already have an intuitive hit of those additional layers. For those of you who are new to this teaching, there's good news. And the good news is every word on this chart is in contemporary modern English. And it means exactly what it says in that context. So even if you just read these words at face value, you can assemble a narrative out of it that can actually help you get some fairly decent feedback. Now, those are what I call the role sets. And again, there are 7 roles and there are 7 sets underneath them. But there are 3 other sets that are labeled here horizontally. I call them the augments, and then the covenants, and then the cycle or soul age. Now you notice, again, they're depicted horizontally instead of vertically, for one thing. And but they each share a common color. Now I'm just pointing these out to you because over the course of these 6 weeks, you will be referencing this chart a lot, because you will begin to understand that seeing the interrelationships of these cards and via their color schemes will give you a lot more subtle data to not only learn whatever question you posed yourself, but if you're doing a reading for someone, which is the ultimate gift that these cards allow you as a divination tool, as a neutral medium to have a conversation and to extract a narrative. So the next part about this is the motivations, a feedback system, exploring the Michael motivations cards. Now, this is the ebook that I'm going to be distributing to you all, and I'm going to demonstrate it here in a moment, but I just want to finish this this particular a slide. There, I knew my words would come to me. This slide, and then I'll take you over and I'll show you how it works. All right. So first of all, it's a novel way. It's a different way of exploring the Michael teachings through the lens, as I've already mentioned, of the applied Michael approach. Okay, and through the lens of understanding that this is a divinational tool. And as a divinational tool, then, you're looking for situational feedback. Now, let me make a contrast here before I go in and show you this. And this is it. That the primary emphasis of the course is, again, on the Michael motivation cards as a tool of divination. And that means it's for situational inquiry. and it gives you thoughtful feedback, or at least feedback that hopefully gives you some ideas to think about. And you'll see in a moment, I define divination below and what that means in my case. And for many of you, it will be a brief review and what makes it different from channeling itself or the traditional way that the Michael teaching is used. Now, the secondary foundation of this course is naturally the Michael teachings. And for those of you who are new to the Michael teachings, let me define it the way I see it. And that is as a spiritually comprehensive and metaphysical system that, and most importantly to me, or as important as anything, is that it employs modern contemporary language rather than occult, arcane, or some kind of mystical interpretations. Gene, did I see you wave a hand by chance? No? Okay, good.
No, I was just stretching. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to make sure. So let me go ahead. I'm going to check out of this. I am going to then bring us over to the share my screen again, and I am going to share the guide so you can see it. Oops. Wait a minute. Is that the right one? Okay. All right. Now, here is in fact, here is the server card as represented in the Motivations Feedback System ebook. Now, there's a lot more information in there. I talk about what the border colors are. I talk about what their subtle meanings are. I talk about something I will be mentioning again, the individual symbols that I chose for this deck that come from me and my input from Michael's Consortium, who is the co-author of this. And again, more of a detailed description. And as you scroll down, eventually at the end of each part, there is also, when it comes to the roles, a complete description of why the sets work and how they work together. And when you come to the end of a section, you're going to notice that I have 2 links on this electronic ebook. Back to the table of contents, which will take you literally to the beginning of the book itself, or to the cards list. So for right now, I'm going to use the back to the table of contents, just so you have a sense of the entirety. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give a shout out to Mr. Peter Winchell, who helped me put out the last version of this ebook. So to his credit, he really helped its organization and so forth. Yay, Peter, and yay, you guys. So again, here is the contents. Each of these are links, and it will take you down to sections. Many of you know that as a person I am, and in this archetype system, I'm a sage. So going on ad nauseum is part of my duty and my function and my natural way of being. I apologize if it bores you. I don't mean that. But I will tell you, I try to give you as much explanation in detail as I can. And in this book, as you can see, this ebook is 551 electronic pages. And so you get lots of information here. All right? Lots of it. This graphic, I want to take a pause and I want to just address for a moment before we go back. And I want to make this instruction helpful because some of you know this already who are already card users. Some of you may not have ever thought about it. Folks, these cards are about 3 by 5 inches. And unlike regular playing cards, if you were to try and fan these like this in the traditional way that we're used to, holding cards and trying to deal them, you are going to destroy your deck pretty quickly. They're going to bend, they're going to get caught, they're going to tear. So you notice what this graphic is that I've got on the screen. Now, I don't know why it's called, but these graphics are termed the Hindu flop. Okay. And what you see me doing, for those of you who are looking at my screen, is when you're literally mixing up your cards, I'm just suggesting that you take your cards, you take a chunk, you flip it around 180 degrees, and then you just traverse your deck. Or you can lay it down flat and you can just mix it up in a random wash, however it works for you. But I really want to encourage you to not do the traditional fan move to try and mix them up that way, because invariably, and by the way, I've had it happen with some of my former decks of cards, some of these cards, as well as other divination card decks, is they're so big, they bend, they tear, and then what happens? Well, what happens is you begin to recognize what they are. And let me ask you, some of you already know the answer to this one. What happens when you start seeing a card that has a familiar tear or a bend or a crease or perhaps a broken edge or something? Well, first of all, chances are you begin to know what it is, huh? Well, and if it's a card you may or may not like, chances are that unconsciously that's going to start influencing the way that you choose your cards. So you won't be getting a truly random selection when you're doing your card choices. So that's the reason I emphasize this so much when I take this moment. All right. So I want to pause for just a moment. And Gene, if you would spot to see if there are any hands up, and if you would call on a person who's got a hands up, because again, I can't see.
I don't see any hands up right now.
Okay, cards you were counting on. Oh, and Tony Senseri just gave us a good sage wah one-liner. Yes, if you bend your card or something like that, you might be counting on what you get or what you see. But it does give me an intro. Thank you, Tony, for something else. When you're fooling around and you are starting to play with your cards and you hand your deck over to the person you're working with, many of you are already card readers. You have your own style and preference. Me, I literally give my deck over to the person and I say, shovel it out into however many piles you want and then restack them however you want. That's just me. Or I give them the option, if you want to spread them out and make them wash, you could do that as well. Just do it gently. So, of course, they don't tear or rip. Now, when they do that, and I've already instructed them, and again, we'll be coming back to this over and over, I have them choose the cards out of whatever place in the deck they want. Now, here's the thing that I want to alert you to. Sometimes there's one of these interesting things happen. When they pull a card, what happens is another one falls out. And they go, oh, what was that? Or what happened? Folks, I tell people, well, that might be the deck trying to tell you something. And I think you might want to just set it off to the side and, include, take a look later and see what it augments your reading with. Because, if you believe in the axiom of there are no accidents, well, then play with it. Have it put off to the side and so forth. If you're trying to grab one card and you grab two, take them both and just lay them out into place. These are just, divinational card uses and dealing things that, again, I'll be reintroducing and re-speaking to over and over as we go. Okay. So going back to, and now I'm going to jump back in and I'm going to go to my share screen again, and we're going to go back to my slides. Oh, come on now. Oh, there we go. All right. As I said a moment ago, in this introductory course, I'm obviously introducing the Michael divination cards with emphasis on divination, but I am acknowledging that the foundation for them is the Michael teachings itself. So as a way of just acknowledging the teachings, I want to show you the way that I built the way I conceptualized and then built this deck accordingly. What you see here in this image, I call the totality of the Michael teaching. And there are 4 quadrants. And what I mean by these 4 quadrants, these are 4 separate sections of material that the Michael teaching deals with in great detail. And that I have arbitrarily put them into these 4 groups. Now, the first grouping is the cosmology. And by the cosmology, I'm talking about how, if you will, the creation story. How did the Tao build this entire metaphysical universe? All right, emphasis on metaphysical universe. And that's section A. And of course, those are represented most specifically by the 0 or Tao card and number 77, the Nexus card. And for those of you who have your charts handy, you know, when I sound out the name of the cards, you can look down on them and make the association. Now, under section B, I talk about soul age evolution, or the process of evolving consciousness. And the process of evolving consciousness is not just about an individual's personal awareness and journey of their soul. And by the way, in this teaching, some of you may have read in the handout that I gave you that for definitional purposes, I use the term essence, soul, and spirit interchangeably to indicate an individual person's spark or unique creation as part of the Tao. And so when a soul then goes through this creation cycle, it goes through this aging or evolutionary process. And that's what section B is. Well, the cards that are listed from numbers at the bottom there, number 70 through 76, what I call the soul age or cycle set, are really enhancing that particular aspect of the entire teaching. Okay, part 3. Now, part 3, or the personality trait system, I apologize that it's upside down. It's the overleaves. And the overleaves are actually, of course, the vast majority of what are represented in these cards. And that's in this entire middle section here. So part C is the most represented in this deck as all the terminology of the overleaves. And lastly, what I'm calling the transcendental abstractions. Okay, that's a fancy word, perhaps. That's perhaps a bit of a fancy word, but let me just tell you what it represents. The augments, the covenants, and the two little folks over here on the side, called the ordinal and exalted group, right there, or cluster. Those are all these transcendental abstractions that aren't really tangible in the way that we think of, whereas the overleaves, even though they're not something that we can lay our hands on, they are much more tangible in the way that we interact with them and then we work with them. These transcendental abstractions are constructs that have been borrowed from many and are familiar in many other teachings. So things like karma, things like life purpose or life task, the notion of self-love, the masculine and feminine energies, or in other teachings, yin and yang, or maybe the anima and animus, if you're familiar with Jungian concepts, okay? Maya, taken directly from Buddhist and Hindu teachings. So these terms, then, these transcendental abstractions flavor many of the overleaves and much of the notions of the Michael teachings. So I've made these essential concepts in the cards, and I've put them in there and now you know where they come from. Okay, but again, for future purposes, we can reorient. Now, I skipped down here, and I just want to make this really clear. And I think it's an important one. And Michael's consortium, my co-author on this, wanted to make this abundantly clear. So needless to say, they had me with a slide pretty quick. You know, many divinational card systems are often very much more feminine energy. And by feminine energy means that their definitions might be more emotionally based, or their representation more fluid, less defined. Whereas Michael said that this deck is definitely masculine energy oriented. It's very much about action and being able to take the warrior king roles of the Michael energy, put through masculine energy, but also it's very intellectually centered, terms that we will be studying in this course, all right? Which means that a lot of the responses you're going to get are often very direct, you know, sometimes a little terse, and definitely oomping you, you know, to look at doing something about your situation and not just necessarily feeling about it. Continuing on here for a moment, let me get rid of that top bar. There we go. Again, those of you who are historically familiar with the Michael teachings, of course, here is a broad array of the books on the Michael teaching that I sampled from. For those of you who are new to the Michael works, I want to call your attention to the upper two books in the upper left-hand corner. Messages from Michael, which was the very first formal publication by Chelsea Quinn Yarborough back in the late 70s. And then right next to it, in the mid 80s, the more structured version, I'd call it more of a reference manual, whereas the first one was more of a storyline or novella. And that structured version is the Michael Handbook by Jose Stevens. So the rest of these books are all very good, including a magnum opus about the Michael teachings, which is in the center of this page by called The Journey of Your Soul by Shepherd Hoodwin. And that is a very, very large volume, very comprehensive, and so forth. But I just wanted to give you these and also say to you that all of these slides will be available to you available every weekend at the end of the course when I post them. So any of you want to review the slides and see what's there, you can do so. Okay, so I've mentioned again, it's, you know, the Michael teachings, the same foundational 78 terms and concepts. You can use them as flashcards, so they're not just limited to being a divinational system. So for those of you who are my newbies here, we're still learning the ideas of the overleaves, you can use them that way. Pick a card and literally just look at it from the standpoint of the three words, you know, that are on the card itself. You know, the middle term is the name of the card. Then there's a positive pole at the top. And then if you spin it, or what's known as the contrary side or the negative pole, you notice that there's another word there. And that those three words represents an entire spectrum of possibilities. So that's a good use of the flashcards. The next thing is using them as a visual Rorschach. What you're going to, I'm going to say about divination systems in general here in the next few moments is basically what really sets a divinational system apart from other forms of spiritual investigation is that they are largely using symbolism. And for those of you who are familiar with the Rorschach projection test, you know that what it's based on, like you see there on the screen, images that your own consciousness is invited to make meaning of what that shape means. Now, I have probably much more familiar images on the page, but your mind is still going to have its own interpretation about what they mean in a given context. And that's what I mean when I say that each time you look at a card, there are lots of layers of meaning that you can interact with, and that you can have that person you're reading for saying, notice the photograph there, in the poll that you chose. Does that mean anything to you? And it's really interesting how often that will elicit information. Now, some of you remember, of course, that the original Michael teaching came through a Ouija board. Our first channel, Sarah Chambers, God rest her soul, who died a few years ago, got her first connections with Michael using a Ouija board. And for those of you who know that little tool that's represented in the graphic at the bottom, that's called a planchette, the little device that cruises around on the board. So why not cards, right? Now, when I built these cards, I just want you to know that I went and I took the Michael teachings, and I also borrowed from and took structure from these other very well-known forms of divinational systems. And some of you know these, but I'll just mention a few. I know, like Mary, who just joined us this evening, and her husband are familiar with the angel cards they reported. Several of us are very familiar with things like the medicine cards. Now, Patricia was saying that she's an old hand with various different kinds of decks, so I imagine that the traditional tarot, either represented by the Morgan Greer deck or maybe Aleister Crowley's Thoth version of the traditional tarot, may be familiar to her. Some of you who are a little bit more into Norse mythology know that Ralph Blum, an English psychologist back in the 80s, reinterpreted the Nordic runes and brought out the healing runes. So those are literally in rock format or in card format. But there's one over there I want to just point out, because this is another use that I tried to incorporate into the Michael motivation cards. And that is, you're seeing me point at Roger Van Och's Creative Whack Pack. Now, folks, if you've ever heard of this, it is not a divinational system per se. But what it is a learning prompt tool, and it's a very fun one. The Creative Whack Pack is designed to do just that, to give you a spark of an idea. Okay, there are 64 cards that have really interesting, goofy pictures on them, as well as a couple of words that are very suggestive. And you can use your Michael deck in the same way. Pick a card and see what it suggests to you, even if you haven't created necessarily a question for it. Now, of course, I've mentioned all of these already before, but I just want to mention, obviously, some others, or show you visually what they look like, including one that is kind of fun. I've already mentioned the traditional tarot, which is off to the left here. Some of you probably recognize some of those symbols. But unlike the traditional tarot, the Michael motivation cards doesn't use the terminology of wands or swords or cups or pentacles or pentangles of their, depending upon who you're talking to. They're also called coins, that particular symbol. And then the runes use either cards or painted stones, with those glyphs pointed in there. Now, the I Ching, for those of you who are familiar with it, is probably one of the oldest known formally written down systems of divination that there is. It goes back several thousand years, and it's based on the combination of trigrams. It was started from the Tao Te Ching and then evolved over during the time and refined during the time of Confucius. Sorry, I'm just trying to grab something here before it gets away. Anyway, how that is normally done is through the use of coins or sticks that one throws, and each of those coins or sticks has a trigram on it, and then you put them together and it gives you this kind of systemology. One fun little mention down here in the bottom photograph, some of you probably remember seeing old movies when we were kids, and seeing, you know, some old codger who's looking for water on his land. And what he does is he picks up a stick and he creates what's known as a divining rod. And a divining rod is, you know, usually some kind of a hardwood tree that is carved into essentially this large V or a Y, and a person holds it in each hand, and their body acts as the conductor, and the stick acts as the pointer. That is also a form of divination. Now, I mentioned before, and I've just shown you a few examples of what makes a divination system, which of course is the use of symbols. Okay, and as far as symbols are concerned, we're looking at, and we're just going to decipher for tonight the this particular back of the card. And first, I want to give a shout out to a longtime friend of mine and Michael student who actually did the professional graphics of this. This card back and this design was done by artist Bo, who is a professional artist, and many of you know her here. But I want to go through and tell you why the symbols are as they are relative to the Michael teaching. So again, you understand that they are coherent. First of all, you see on both the top and the bottom, these are mirror images of them of itself. And of course, the purpose of that is what? Well, so that we cannot know what a card is, whether or not it's coming up on the upright side, also referred to as the illuminated pole or positive pole, or if it's coming up or being chosen in the negative side, also called the shadow side or contrary side. Okay? So the crown itself, that first image on top. As I mentioned earlier, Michael is a spiritual entity using the terminology of the archetypes of this teaching of warriors and kings. So the crown, of course, is a reference to the kings that they are. Then when you look at the 7 points on that crown, you notice that there are the 7 colors, and those are the 7 roll colors associated with each of those sets that, again, that I show you in this brochure. So each of those sets have a color scheme, and it's represented by each of the points on the crown. But also what you'll find out as we continue to explore the cards more, that there are cards, individual cards and sets of cards that represent chakra energies. And chakras, of course, are used in several different metaphysical systems. And we'll define ours as we go on further. The shield. Shield represents the positive aspect of the masculine energy, which is that of protection and focus for us. The sword. You notice that the sword is one of the 2 cross staves of the letter M itself. And of course, as you might well guess, the letter M stands for both Michael and Michael's consortium. However, it's the other part that Michael wanted me to point out and wanted me to include on here because they thought it very important. They said for the Michael teachings to really survive, but more importantly, the purpose of the Michael teaching, which is to help usher in this thing which we will be talking more and more about, and you read about in your handout that I sent you, that is to help the people learn and help them through this period of time we know as the emergence of the mature soul era. And for that, it is writing ideas and helping those ideas endure and helping them be spread from person to person. And the old adage about the pen being mightier than the sword is something that they really wanted to get across, because right now, as you can see in the world, we are having a paradigm struggle between the paradigm that is falling away, but it is at its apex, and that is the last energies, the last periods of the young soul acquisitional time of human history, and the emergence or the newest and being birthed orientation of human consciousness, which is about involvement, togetherness, collaboration, which is the mature soul era. And there two are butting heads, and you can see that all over the planet in every level of society that we see. So, talking about the symbolism there. In a moment, we're going to just go through a couple more slides, and then we're going to take a pause, and I'm going to give you some chance to ask some questions. But as a shorthand, what I hope to help you understand is that the 3Ds of the cards are that they detect energies that are present, they describe what's going on in the interim, in the process. They help create a context to reflect back whatever question you might have asked. And then they direct. And by direct, many of the cards literally, and many of the responses to the cards literally have action steps that suggest to you, you know, if these are the things that we've laid out, this is what you might do. Now, sometimes the action isn't necessarily some overt behavior that you go and perform. The action may be a deliberate change of mind. It may be jump into some kind of research. It may be pause something you're doing, but it is a direction in that it is literally giving you something to do and not leaving you hanging. And that is one of the reasons that this is a masculine energy deck. So remember that a lot of the clarity of what you come up with in any given card, in any given reading, is going to be about what questions you ask. So think about it. So I'm going to pause after this there are more slides, but I'm going to pause for a moment after this one. But just say, this is another way that is featured both in the book, the ebook, and in the very front of your pocket guide. And what this graphic is trying to impart is essentially another way of saying the detect, describe, and direct construct. So what you're seeing here, for those of you who are more visual, on the left, you're seeing the arrow coming in behind this person. And what that is suggesting is that's the motivations that are in the circumstances already. That's what's present. That's what's being brought to you to be alerted to. These are things that are acting upon you, okay? Now, on the front part, the arrow moving from the front of you outward, or front of this graphic outward, these are those cards that represent how you may exercise what in the Michael teaching is one of its primary credos, and that this is about choice. So some of the cards that you're getting here are giving you not only directives, but they're giving you choices of actions. And they are things that you act upon. They are not necessarily things that, as the first side of the graphic implies, that act upon you. So this is the intention behind this graphic, again, to sort of try and symbolically deliver that. So I'm going to escape us out of here for a minute. And I'm going to take a pause and ask how you doing, and are there any questions so far? Gene, you see any hands there? All right. Okay, so I'm curious as to why Uranus is with King and not
Actually, Janaea has a question.
Satan. Okay.
Steve,
Yes.
on that last card,
Yeah.
where you discuss motivations, both what's here in the situation as well as that's the motivation in, and you have motivation out or in the realm of choice.
Yes.
Are you going to be presenting the cards in such a way that we can discern which of those motivations are in action with a particular layout or card?
Absolutely. Great question. Thank you, Janaea. And so I will reference back to And I will tell you, if any of you had printed your handouts out or have them up on your screen, and by your handouts, I'm talking about the ones that I sent you. I believe that page 4 or 5 of your handout shows a complete list of all what I call layouts or spreads. And it's one entire solid page.
It's
Now,
page 5.
Page 5, thank you. On page 5, let me see if I can bring it up here on my screen for you. Let's see. It looks like my screen ate it. I had it up there earlier and there we go. All right. So let me go ahead here and bring it up on Zoom, and I'll share the screen and I will show it to you. Okay, there we go. So get rid of the control bar so you can see it easily. And Phil, I see your hand up there. Let me just address this and I'll answer your question. So what I wanted you to answer Janae's question with is in this on this page is it gives you a little bit of a just short course of what the spread is for. If you go to the website or you go into the ebook and you go down to that spread, it will give you a much more detailed card by card explanation of what that card represents in that spread, including what those cards might mean in terms of taking action or what kind of action to take, or and whatever card falls in there then will further accentuate that. Janae, did that make sense to you?
It gives me a starting place. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
give you a starting place. Good. And just as those card descriptors will also tell you, like it will say, for instance, let me just pick one here and look at it. Okay. Say the future Oracle spread. Okay. It's both in the pocket guide, you see PG and -web. And by the way, everything will be listed in the motivations ebook. I just didn't put it over there on the side. So the future Oracle spread, I'm not there yet. I'm not going to bring it up, but I will tell you that I know that the first thing it says, is it says about the now, right? What's going on now? So that's one of those. This is a situational card that's talking about what's happening in this moment. What are the circumstances currently? It's not necessarily a call to action yet. It's just saying what is. Okay. So that's an example. And usually some of the earlier cards in these layouts are defining the situation. And some of the later cards tend to be those that are defining a course of action. Okay, so Phil, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be a little early for this question, and things will get clearer. But what I've done some divination, and I notice that I tend to interpret things more. It was really interesting to me in the masculine orientation of the card, and really makes a lot of sense now that I think about it. But I tend to interpret the emotional context and how things land in people. And I mean, I'm sure it'll become clear to me, how to read these differently, but I just thought I would bring it up.
I just want to let you know that that's absolutely, that you're bringing up an emotional context, or naturally means that is the way that you feel will be naturally oriented in your readings for people. And that's absolutely appropriate. And the cards will work with you and give you those messages as appropriate. And your orientation and the way you interpret them through that lens, and you being emotionally centered already, will absolutely put the right and correct interpretation on that for the person that you're interacting.
Okay, so I don't have to try to, yeah, all right, great, thank you.
And let me expand on that just a little bit, if I may, folks, for a moment, because Phil really raises an important issue that I'm literally going to go back to here and go back to my slides. And I know that right now I have to take the screen off, and where are we here? Okay, there we go. So you guys are all seeing the cards list, correct, right now? Okay, let me just go ahead and I'm going to stop this share, and I'll just tell you, it's a divination system, and these cards. And tonight, one of the things that we're going to do before I send you off into groups to huddle with each other is I want you to understand that if you own one of these decks or you interact with it online, Michael is at your service. These are your energy mixed with Michael's, and whoever you read for, whoever you bring into your life, your purview of interest, who asks you to work with them with these. Trust in knowing that your way of reading the cards is going to be absolutely perfect. The alchemy. Divination also works with alchemy, for those of you who know the term. That's that mystical, metaphysical interaction between the tool, the energy of the source, and the person doing the reading and the choosing. That alchemy will produce just the right interpretations, the right meanings, and the right outcomes. For those of you who are taking this course, I hope to equip you with a lot more of the pre-built boilerplate aspects imbued in each of these cards, so it just deepens your satchel, so to speak, of what you might be able to pull out and apply at a given moment. It doesn't mean you not knowing them or not remembering them in a given person's reading or in a given circumstance. Is in any way, a lessening of the value of what you bring or of what a person can get. And yet to say that, to add one more thing, the deeper you go with all the aspects that I will be presenting to you in terms of understanding the symbolism, the choices of the images, the meaning of the card, the reason the spectrum of the positive and negative pole exists the way they do, vis-a-vis the Michael interpretation, and also my applied Michael approach interpretation. The more that you have intermingled, the far more interesting your readings will be, because the far more intuitive depth you're going to have to offer somebody else. So thank you for that. And I'm going to reiterate that over and over and over and ad infinitum. All right. So you know what, folks? I'm sick of hearing myself. All right. So you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to give you, say, about 5 minutes for a comfort break. And then as soon as you come back, I'm going to have breakout rooms ready. And since there's about 20 of us, I think what I'll do is I'll make 5 breakout rooms of 4 people. And in those breakout rooms, what I'm going to invite you all to do is I'm going to invite you all to, for those of you who have physical decks, pick a card for today. And those of you who don't have a physical deck, use the Michael Cards site and go there and literally go to the motivational card moment. Okay, that's the number. That's the card layout that just offers you one, and just say, "What do I need to know today?" And click on it, and it will take you to that single card layout, and you can see what it's there. Okay. All right. So why don't you go ahead and let's see. According to my clock, ladies and gentlemen, it's just about 20 after 5. And again, let's take 5 minutes. So let's be back by 5:25. I'm going to sit here though. And
It's 20 minutes after 6, just so people know.
I'm sorry, 20 minutes after 6. Sorry, I was looking at my clock at an angle. So 20 minutes after 6 West Coast time. I know it's 20 minutes after their East Coast time. So folks, for those of you who need to go night-night because you're on the East Coast, I understand. This may be your chance to exit. Or I'm going to stay here with you. So for those of you who would like to ask further questions, please feel free to do so. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and answer Tim's question. Tim asked about, and again, I will be, for later. Thank you, Tim. I will get to that later about why I chose it, but in a brief sense, is when I did my readings more of Pluto and Uranus, independent of the Michael teachings, what it came clear to me is that Uranus is much more an action-oriented, exotic planet than Pluto, which is much more of an intellectually, potentially explosive energy, which is then expression, genius, and so forth. That's why I put those tonight. What time do we end tonight? I might leave early if it goes late. We'll be going, Mary, to 7 o'clock West Coast time. I believe you're on the West Coast, but if not, and then wherever you're at. So in other words, we have approximately 40 minutes left. And again, I'll be answering questions right now. So if anybody's got a question that they want to ask, go ahead and plug right in. Anyone? Good. I'm that good. Okay. All right. Well, I guess just a couple of other things that I just want to reiterate. Remember, you guys can't do this wrong. I want you to have fun. There is a lot of detail in this course. I don't mean to overwhelm you with it. This particular class, I'm trying to create the entire container. So I apologize if it feels like it's going long or you're hearing a lot of lecture. Again, in a few minutes when people get back, we'll go ahead and we'll do the breakout rooms, and we will have people jump in. By the way, I will tell you in future about this class. I'm going to make it so that a number of the breakout rooms are going to be just for size 2. So in other words, and I'm going to let you as participants choose your partners so that you'll actually be able to do a breakout room with 2 people, and you and that person will be able to go in and do readings for each other. And since most of the class time is going to be devoted to actually practicing with the cards and utilizing them, you'll be able to switch around with different folks. But for today, when I create these breakout rooms, when pretty much everyone is back, and I see that there are no blank, no blank screens or anything like that, so that we have everyone represented, and I keep my time agreement, I'll go ahead and do that. Another feature about the breakout rooms that I want to mention to you, that is a little bit of an unfortunate limitation of Zoom itself, folks. Actually, Marilee, no, you are welcome to purchase the cards. You can go to the Michael Cards site and purchase them there if you wish. But you just need to register, and you could use the online version. I would encourage you, absolutely, if you're taking a class, with using divination cards, it would probably be great, and you'd probably like it a lot better if you had I can't find them at michaelcards.com. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go right now, and I'm going to send you a link to purchase the cards. So I will do that right now. And if you actually tell you the truth, I'll just use it. I'll use the Michael teaching. And I'll give you that link. You can Where are you here? I can find the link. There we go. Okay, here we go. So, all right, I am putting the link to purchase the cards right in the chat. And here it is. So, there it is for you, Mary. That's on my other mirror site, themichaelteaching.com, and that takes you directly to my purchase page. So, all right, and we lost Abby. Wah. Sad to see Abby go, but I realize that you East Coasters. Okay. So, Gene, did I keep my time agreement? Has it been 5 minutes? It looks like it.
Yep, it's actually 1 minute over.
Oh my God, I goofed up. Okay, here they come, folks. 5 breakout rooms. All right, so now I don't know if you can see yourselves, but I'm going to start moving you in. So, can you all see yourself in the rooms, assigned to rooms? I hope. Open all rooms. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. Slowly but surely. There you're heading out. Okay, gang. Good job. Okay, it looks like everybody's in except for Phil and Terry. Okay, so you are they are waiting for you in a room there, Terry. And when Phil gets back, him too. All right, well, I'll wait for Phil.
Be patient with.
I'm not an expert either. I'm fairly new to it myself.
All right, Steve, I just told them that I am a true newbie because I know very, very little. So be patient with me.
Don't worry, honey. You can't do it wrong. She's my cousin, everyone. So nepotism.
And
Okay.
she said so.
All right.
I know.
So folks, if you have your okay, so who's gonna start? Who's got?
I'm gonna start.
Okay, Renee, put your.
I got help.
Excellent. Back it up just a little
Helplessness,
bit.
and you were just talking about being helpless, Sherry.
Yeah.
So this is very apropos.
That's my card, apparently.
Yes. And then on the bottom, turning it around, initiation, helplessness, infancy. So you're a child. So I'm doing, and I don't know if we're supposed to be doing this or not, but I'm used to doing readings in general. So
you
I'm
go
going
right
to
ahead. I guess we lost. Okay, there we go. We're back. So I guess we've got.
Made of mine.
Hello. Hey, we get Steve. Hi there, Steve. We were just doing a little bit of our sense of background and familiarity with the Michael teachings. So
Oh,
when
good.
you were getting involved with Shepherd, Patricia, is when I was first reading Michael, and I learned about Steve through Terry Benning because she had an online meetup, or she had a site where I could, and I actually met her in 2019, and she told me about Steve. So I went to a couple before COVID clobbered us, a couple of his in-person
Well, I really
years.
can't find my deck because I got it, Steve, from you at when you debuted them at the East Coast Gathering.
Ah, yeah. So you've had them travel.
No.
You have. And then Patricia, you just
No,
got
I was telling them that
I just got mine. Yes.
used online for now last 4 or 5 years. You know, I mean, I literally use it in my work. I use it in the writing, you know, so I'm kind of excited that what you're doing here is pretty cool.
cool. I'm gonna keep jumping around, you guys. Keep your chat up and make sure you share your cards.
Sense mate.
Hello there, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Oh, oh, this is a group of trouble. I can tell.
That's
so-
what we thought. The heavyweights.
Hi, Jan, by the way.
Hi.
Good to see you. So you guys, I know you all know each other really well, so that's not a problem. Have you had a chance to share cards?
We pulled them and we're just sort of discussing them now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just pulled them.
Okay.
I was going to look for the ones that the others pulled, and I'm not doing a good job of that.
Okay. Well,
I just wanted to comment,
yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to comment, Steve, that, you know, these remind me of when I was a kid, you know, and I didn't know my multiplication tables. We use flashcards.
Yeah.
To learn the multiple. These would make great flashcards for learning the teachings. I mean, beyond readings and everything.
Yes.
If you just want to, like, what if you know, I was looking at the overleaf reading thing, and I thought, what if you just got the person's overleaves out and put them all together and, you know, and showed it to them, you know, in a
I think that's a great way of doing it.
I think that's a really great way for people to learn about their overleaves too.
Terry, I'll tell you, if you look, you know, on the handout that I sent out on page 11, I have an exercise that I call the Michael Overleaves Mandala. And,
okay.
And if you look at it, you'll see my entire overleaves chart laid out with cards.
Oh, cool. Cool.
And
All right. So that's what page is that again?
It's on. I think it's
11.
page 11 on the
page 11.
Last handout.
Oh, that was yours. I saw that. That was yours. Oh, cool. Well, I should do it with mine. That looks
exactly.
like fun. That looks really cool.
And you'll see in there that I suggest that everyone who is really familiar with their overleaves lay them all out in a mandala format and see what impressions it makes upon you.
Yeah, that's really a cool idea.
Great idea.
That's the Rorschach aspect of using these cards, is to see it visually other than just words.
Right. Because the subconscious mind takes in pictures.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the subconscious mind takes in pictures better than it does words.
Absolutely. You guys continue. I'm going to keep bopping around.
Okay.
Hold it up a little higher, Phil.
There we go. Frequency.
And the negative pole, dissonance. That kind of describes a certain sense of myself that I have at the moment. I don't know where that comes from, or we're getting ready to go on a trip tomorrow, and my stepdaughter was going to join us, and it turned out her husband just tested positive for COVID. And as a result, we can't allow, we're going to a wedding. Anyway, that event had kind of created in me a dissonance. Also, just going to see my family, the whole family thing, is it's wonderful. My brother, who's 83, is getting married. It's kind of a joyful thing.
Hope for me.
Yeah.
All right, you guys are doing great. Keep going. I gotta go to other rooms.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Beth. Hi, Mary Lee. Oh, I get to see a person's face instead of a picture. All right. And hey, Karen. How you guys doing? Have you been able to, have you drawn cards or just done some meet and greet? Aha.
Yeah.
Got
Beth,
the
Beth
Neptune.
drew a card for me. Beth drew a card for me. I found where the cards are, like as a list, but I don't know how to draw one randomly. So Beth drew one for me. It was pretty accurate.
She drew 25 and I drew 52. We were talking about the doubles and the mirror reflections of doubles,
Interesting. Let's see. So 25, is that impatience?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And what poll did you get it in, Mary Lee?
I think it was the positive, right?
Positive poll? So audacity. So some risk taking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
That's
when you,
good.
it's interesting when you, it's so pleasant to see you smile. It looks like there's a smirk there. I'm just curious, what does that mean for you when you hear the word audacity or an impatience?
Well, I mean, I was a little impatient during the lecture part. And so I feel like the cards kind of read my energy, and then I didn't know whether to stay or go. And the card said, just go, like, don't waste your time. And I'm like, oh gosh, this like was reading my energy. And then I was like intrigued. So I don't know, it's my first time coming to something like this. And
well, I'm
yeah.
delighted that it told you the truth. See,
and
that's
it's kind of, you see, it's kind of audacious to even say something like that to the person who's leading the class, but you asked, and so I'm sorry.
Oh,
but you're doing a great job.
Apologize. Listen, I've been told I'm a windbag from way back, so I long ago don't take offense at it. But on top of that, you've actually validated that the cards work for you. That I'm even happier for. Actually, I really am.
Yeah.
And I'm also delighted that you decided not to take the direction and actually leave. I mean, even your pal.
It's almost like reverse psychology. It was weird.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, you stayed and you're here. And look at this, your buddy Paige didn't even show up, for God's sakes, you know?
I texted her and she said that her mother-in-law's in the hospital and she's with her, so she couldn't make it tonight.
And I mean, and the thing about it is, and I'll mention this to everyone else too, that every week's lecture, I'm going to post on YouTube, and I will send out a link to the recording for those people who aren't interested in, looking at the slides necessarily, but or if they want to listen to me.
I just realized our little session is recorded, so she's going to see this too.
Yeah, she is. Yes, so you and she will be able to chat about it.
So is So is this a private link or is this public?
Oh,
for anyone to search?
I submit this to Fox News and the FBI. No, I'm kidding. It's a private link. It is. No, seriously. These are all private. These are all confidential, just to be shared within the group of people who are attending the class. And then there are, as I said, there was 6 people, who are signed up for the class who will see this. And many of them will smirk at both my comment about me being a windbag, and they'll roll their eyes and agree. And then they'll chuckle at the fact that you got gotten, as the phrase I use, about being bored and ready to split. It hasn't been the first time, dear. I've heard that feedback, so don't worry. But we'd love to have you if you want to join in, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So what about the Karen and Beth? Have you guys each had a chance to go?
Yeah, we both talked about our cards and how well, mine was definitely relevant.
And yours
reflective
was
and relevant.
So yours was
The Neptune.
Yours was Neptune, effusive. So you were Judy. You were Judy Garland. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that mysterious something is at play in my life again, and it's exciting for me. You know what I mean? I love it.
Oh, great.
I love it.
Great. Excellent. Excellent. Well, good. Beth, just out of curiosity, what did you pick?
I got personality and the
Okay.
positive pole.
Oh, so self. Okay. Just out of curiosity for the 3 of you, and I'm going to leave you with this question, and then we'll be back out in just about 5 minutes. But if you want, choose if there's any question that's left open-ended about the card that you chose. Choose a second and see what kind of augmentation it does for you.
So I have a question for you, Stephen.
Yeah.
So what happens when you don't follow the instructions of the card? Like, do you become like cursed or something? Or is it a bad idea not to listen? Or is it like Michael taunting with me? Or
this is called the divination system. This divination system is called an aid. It is not. It is not a tool of curse or punishment or damnation or anything like that. So, in other words, it's about choice. It's about just getting some feedback, seeing your reaction to it, and seeing if it's something that feels like it resonates. And to follow up, Marilee, I will tell you that one of the things that I personally look out for myself and suggest people do, if you have a really strong negative or averse reaction to a card, that's also usually a fairly good indicator that something is going on. But there is no negative consequences from the cards, the deck, from Michael, or anything like that. Not at all. But any residue it leaves in you, like, annoyingly, yabbity, yabbity, yabbity. That's the kind of thing that I always find that I pay attention to. It's like, oh, darn it, why can't I shake that? And the reason being probably is that there's something there that it actually triggered, and I'm working with it. And it won't let go until, something is resolved about it. And it may not be something I resolve necessarily consciously. It may just dissipate. Or I may have an aha moment. I say, oh, that's why that triggered me so. And so on. Did that help answer your question to some extent?
yes. So I'm trying to see the syllabus, but maybe it's a better question for the group, like to see what the plan is for the next few weeks.
Sure. So let me leave the room, and if there's anything that you guys would like to, I'm gonna just visit one more room, and then I'm gonna call the group everybody back. Okay. All right. So sit tight. Oh, you got your nerd glasses on, Sherry.
I can't see. I'm having another eye surgery next month, so maybe I'll actually be able to see again.
Oh, really? Is the occlusion closed? Because the
Yeah, the retina one is good. Now I have just a really severe cataract, so.
Oh, okay.
And I can't get glasses until I get that taken care of, so.
I gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, we're getting back in there. So as people come tripping back into the room, let me start off with you, Sherry. Was it okay, dear? Was it too intimidating? Did it feel weird? There's, like I said, there was no wrong answers on it. But did anything about the card that I think you had a deck, didn't you? Or did you have to choose something?
Yeah, I do. I have my deck and my cards. No, I'm just learning. I'm such a newbie. I feel like this little child who everybody is speaking this foreign language, and I have to.
Well, just out of curiosity, what was the card you chose? And
I had discrimination.
You had discrimination, and you got it.
I had to.
And you got it in the positive pole of discernment. So when you think of discrimination and discernment, does that bring up anything for you? Either that you're going through, that you're going through in your life now, or is it just a kind of a random chance? Does the picture on the card, mean anything? And it's okay if it doesn't, because sometimes they just don't.
Yeah. Yeah, crossword puzzle. I was actually using it based on what we're doing with this class. So I guess I wasn't looking at it as a whole, lifetime thing, but more what was going on right now and how I'm listening and discerning and just trying to see how this is all going to fit into my life. So that's the way I approached it.
I've always felt discrimination was making really good choices. So.
Well, especially in the positive pole. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Being discerning and doing that. So who else would
negative
like
pole.
What's that,
I had
Tony?
the negative pole of acceptance. And right before this class, I was writing a grant proposal that I'm having to tailor to the Speculative Literature Foundation. And I thought it was really quite amusing that Michael showed me acceptance in the negative pole. Don't be a suck up. Don't be an sycophant, just tell them what your story and your project's about, and stop trying to second guess them. So I got a big chuckle out of it, actually.
So by the way, folks, the negative pole of acceptance is ingratiation. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the term ingratiation or ingratiating, it means to suck up. All right. So just out of curiosity, who else got a card or had a reaction that they had fun with or thought it was kind of playful or interesting? Anyone?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
So I got solar reversed, right? Which is ethereal.
Ethereal.
Okay, so I have ethereal. Imagine that, an artisan being ethereal. That's unusual. And also I'm lunar, body type as well. So I can be very ethereal.
So you felt
the real thing that is trippy about.
Sorry, go ahead.
I did. But I did. And it cracked me up because before the class, Bobby and I went to the casino and won money.
Yay! All
so
right.
both of us came back flying.
Right.
Where do you live? Where are there casinos? Where do you live? I love casinos.
I live in Sonoma County.
And where?
That? Near Santa Rosa, California.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's nice ones up there.
Where are you, Renee?
San Francisco.
In San Francisco, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That's where we went. But anyway.
All right.
So it was very interesting because it was talking about the difference between radiance and glare.
Yeah. The thing is, the picture.
I thought that was so funny. Yeah, no, it totally fit.
The picture on ethereal looks like a roulette wheel.
It
It
does.
does, doesn't it?
And we couldn't figure out what it was if it was
Where did
not
I
a
put it?
wheel.
Where did I put it? I just had it. Is this it?
All right,
No.
I'm gonna fess up.
Anyway, but that was fun. That was really fun, and I felt accurate.
All right,
We're definitely in the ethereal.
so I'll fess up on that image, the negative pole of ethereal. I searched high and low, and they were not giving me anything about what the hell an image for the negative pole would be. Not anything, clarity wise. And I said, "Listen, you suck, you guys."
Can you help me understand that? To me, I just look like the sun and the moon, but you know, that's where I went
what
with
that
it.
is, imagine a structural wheel without any light, and so that was the best thing I could come up with. So yeah, I know not everything for me and them, right? It could be kind of flat, I guess. That's
Well, what was so funny is I was going, I like this image.
Good.
I like it better than the solar.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Terry.
That was
Who
fun.
else would like to?
That was really fun. Yeah.
Who else would like to share their card with the group? Anyone have any last minute inputs? I just got a couple of more things to say before tonight, and then one last thing that we will do, and then we'll call it a night.
I'll chip in. I got the elder card, and it was in the positive fulfillment.
Yes.
And I just found it's suiting where I'm at in life right now. It was just kind of a real, what's the word I'm thinking of? Kind of a confirmation, sort of confirming, in that the kind of work I do with clients, after a long time of learning. I'm a scholar cast scholar. And with intellectual part of intellectual. So, and so, yeah, I had just said to my group that I'd finished my doctorate in January of 2021, and it's all on the systemic healing of transgenerational trauma. And so, working with clients in that way, and it's just kind of I just found that I'm going to have to do a bunch more reading on it just to see what it's all about. But my initial sense is that's where I've been feeling I am. Yeah.
Wow.
Do you work with constellation theories at all then, Patricia?
Yeah, my whole doctorate was on constellation.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Bert Hellender's constellation stuff?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I've trained in that for the last 13 years. Yeah.
It'll be interesting for you. I created a spread with the foundation of Bert Hellinger's constellation in mind. So one of the
interesting.
Yeah, one of the spreads is built like that. All right. Well, if there's no one else, or if you got one chance, one more, I want to just take you to a couple more quickie slides. Okay. All right. So here we go, and this one's for you, Sherry. So my friends, just remember the 3 beliefs that'll shut you down from learning is I don't know enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm afraid I'll do it wrong. Don't panic. Really. Really, don't panic. It's okay. In fact, chill out. There is no way. There is no right way. Sherry, you even interpreted the card brilliantly, just the way you did with just the knowledge of the word discernment and discrimination. Absolutely legitimate way of interpreting it, really. So I just wanted to be able to, say this, respect your own meanings, what comes to your mind. It's fine. And by the way, you see my little graphic down here, it says, relax, this is not a test. Let Michael and your essence, just guide you, okay? This is not gospel. Like I said, you already know enough of the Michael teachings, but even if you don't, guess what? You're gonna get guided by them. As Terry Benning said earlier in one of the breakout rooms, these are flashcards. You know, they are key words of meaning. They'll help you learn the Michael teaching, but on top of that too, they stand alone as really usable concepts and archetypes, just as English words. So here's the last thing, gang. All right. And the last thing is this. This is if you would like to literally have yourself a little oath, we can all do this together, and you can do this with your speaker on or your speaker off. It's okay, but let me read it to you. Okay. This is your declaration of card ownership. Okay. And it says, Michael, I invite you to connect with my essence through these cards. I grant you permission to provide me your perceptions and directions whenever I can.
Michael, I invite you to connect with them.
So
Permission
go
to provide
for
me
it.
perceptions and directions whenever I consult them. So be it, and so it is.
Invite you to connect with my essence.
You might want to hold the cards to your heart too. That's what I'm doing.
Do whatever feels right. This is your deck. This is your connection with Michael from now on. It is now yours. That's it. It's yours. And by the way, when you make this declaration, anytime you go to one of my electronic apps, it'll transfer. So don't you worry. All right, gang.
All right.
Oh, that's it for tonight. Did y'all? Did some of you? Most of you stuck around. I don't even see too many closed eyes, and I don't hear much snoring. So I must have done okay.
It was great.
My friend doesn't snore.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you,
you,
It's been
Stephen.
great.
Thank you,
Silent
Steve.
sleeper. So
Thank
for
you.
any of you who are
Steve.
visiting tonight, Marilee, we'd love to have you back if you'd like to come. You can decide this week. Email me if you have any further questions. For the rest of you, I will be posting the video and the audio, the video to YouTube, and the audio and the slides. I will send you an email linked for, so that you have everything for review. Okay. So, gang.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
On
you,
my
Steve.
clock, it
Thank
says
you. Bless
we're
us.
3 minutes to 7. I'm even done.
Whoa.
Yay!
You're a little slow. Mine is at 10 p.m.
Oh, well, darn it. Okay, well then I'm right on time.
It's 7 straight up.
Okay, gang.
Okay.
Well, listen, I will say goodnight to you all. Thank you all for coming. I hope you come back next week, and we'll see you then. Same mic time, same mic channel.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it took you a little time to catch on.
Thanks, Steve.
Good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Steve. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get out. Leave. Okay.
We're letting them all disappear. Is it just the two of you? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, there we
Good
go.
class, Steve.
Did it
That's
go all
went
right?
really well.
Did it float all right?
Great.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm relieved.
It was nice to have a good amount of time in the breakout room to discuss things as well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Also, next time, maybe I missed it. Did you tell us how much time we had in the breakout room? I think
No.
we missed it. So that might be helpful just because we were like, oh my God, we got to talk fast because we don't know how long we have. So
That's good. Maybe that's a good prompt for the gabbers, right? To make
There you
sure
go.
everybody gets a turn. No, I definitely will, in future. Tonight I wanted to just make sure that it got covered as much as it did. So okay.
No,
Yeah.
you did a good job. It got well covered, and I
great.
think everyone enjoyed it. We certainly had
Good.
fun in our breakout room.
Oh yeah, it seemed like most everyone did. Hey Joe, bye Joe. All right, you guys. Well, y'all have I should be on. Gene, you want to host Saturday? I'll just come, or do you want me to host?
Sure. No, I can host. That'd be fine.
Okay, great. Then I'll see you guys on Saturday.
All right.
Saturday.
Hasta la vista, babies.
Bye,
Bye bye.
Be well.
guys. Have a good evening. Bye.
Good night.